Professor M. Shahiduzzaman, you heard the news, you heard the reactions from the NATO members, sir. What would be the consequences you expect?
Well, it is unfortunate, of course, that we had a passage of time where after the Alaska meeting between President Trump and President Putin, we had expected that a breakthrough take place. But far from it, even the Ukrainian president, he hasn't been able to visit Moscow. And now we see that Putin has adopted a policy of pursuing a very aggressive line against Ukraine. My expectation is that since Poland is just bordering Ukraine, it's quite possible that the Russian drone could stray into Polish territory. Number one, if that is so, I don't think there would be any crisis of any important magnitude. Second possibility is that a drone violating a territory is not considered really an attack. Rather, the shooting down of the drone could provoke Russian response as an unfriendly act. Normally, the flight of a drone should have led Poland to register a protest that they should not stray into Polish territory. But in case if the drone has been equipped with arms and if it had any aggressive intentions, that would be, of course, a good reason for Poland to shoot it down. But the fact is that although Poland is a member of the NATO, it's one of those recent inclusions in NATO, and its geopolitical location, of course, makes it vulnerable. But Poland has been showing sufficient restraint in the recent past in terms of distancing itself from Ukraine, in terms of creating a lull in the effort. So the Russians have good reasons not to provoke Poland or not to really threaten its territorial sovereignty. I have my hunch is that I'm sure the Russian authorities are in touch with Polish authorities, and there is really no cause for alarm. American reaction hasn't yet been very strong, it's been very muted, and I have really not seen any American response as yet. I think President Trump will not try to provoke any anger or any counter threat to Russia, because the entire approach right now is to sort of bring about an end to the war between Ukraine and Russia.
Israel attacks on Qatar, Israel attacks on Houthi, Yemen, a huge number of people has died. We will definitely go back there to discuss, but I have a very different questions to an expert who loves to talk about international affairs because he has sacrificed his entire life on international affairs. Sir, does the incident bring Europe closer to a direct confrontation Russia-NATO fight?
No, fortunately, I would say not so at all. You know, the thing is that the idea of confrontation, a direct confrontation, is far-fetched. It would mean very serious business, and it would imply the use of force. Once it's done, it would be very difficult to resort to peaceful measures. And then there is a dilemma that once they resort to force, the thing is that from a conventional position, the switch over to the nuclear threshold has never been tested. It's totally unknown. Since the Cuban Missile Crisis, Russia and America and NATO has not really come to any direct confrontation. So this is an incident. As I have heard the gentleman in Washington DC, the drone has in fact strayed from Byelorussia, which is actually bordering Russia. The question is that if these drones had strayed into Byelorussia, they could as well have strayed into Poland too. And as I was listening to our Polish friend, he does not seem to be in a state of tension or any great urgency in his expression. He seems to have taken it in a very good stride. Now, So, if we know that an attack on a NATO member is an attack on all members, but the thing is that Poland is perhaps one of the very recent entrants into the NATO, one of the early entrants. Poland is a country which has great strategic significance in terms of working out a peace between Ukraine and Russia. The American policy would now always be to encourage restraint, and the Russian policy would be to sort of provoke sort of exchanges in order to get the best possible deal for a peace settlement. Eventually, I think Russia will obviously go for a peace settlement, because the Russian economy is hit very hard and it really wants to develop trade and investment links with European countries. So, all in all, these are more or less acts of provocation, but they are not really what we call in terms in the language of war studies substantive enough to create any serious threat. These are really, what you call, I would say, some sort of brinksmanship, and a brinksmanship among Russians and the NATO members is not very uncommon given the real situation right now.
Right, sir. Sir, how might Qatar's condemnation of Israel's actions reshape Middle East alliances?
It's very important, and it's a very disturbing development. Qatar is not just a member of the OIC, it is also the headquarters of the CENTCOM. American Central Command is located in Qatar, and Qatar has great strategic importance in terms of the way Qatar negotiates or mediates whenever there is a crisis among the Muslim countries, Arab countries, as well as Israel. Even today, Qatar is actively involved in trying to persuade Israel to stop its genocide and its killings of the Hamas people. The very fact that Qatar, being a mediator, is subjected to Israeli attack, it really can do a lot of harm to the mediating effort from the Arab side. And secondly, if Qatar really shelters many of the insurgent groups and even those who are fighting with Israel, that is something that has been done for quite some time. It is known to the United States, and Qatar has always enjoyed this unique status of hosting dissident anti-Israeli groups too, because Qatar is very clearly a much more freedom loving compared to many other Arab states. For example, it hosts, not only hosts the Al Jazeera, which is of course the heart of anti-Israeli dissemination of news and education to the rest of the world on Israeli aggression. Qatar has done so with a lot of promise.
Right.
So, any Israeli act will harm the close alliance between Qatar and the United States. It is very much possible that Qatar
Right,
could act independently and develop closer ties with China and threaten Israel of serious consequences too if Israel tries any act of aggression against Qatar.